Dr. Taeyang Kim stood in his small clinic, looking at the medical charts on his desk. The clinic floated in space, attached to a large station where many different alien species lived and worked together. Outside his window, he could see ships coming and going, carrying beings from 100 different worlds. Taeyang was a veterinarian, but not the normal kind that people knew back on Earth. He took care of alien animals, big ones, small ones, strange ones that glowed in the dark or breathed methane instead of oxygen. He had been doing this work for 15 years, ever since he left his family's farm colony to study medicine. His clinic was called Mercy's Hand. It was famous in this part of the galaxy. When other doctors gave up on a sick creature, they sent it to Taeyang. He never said no to a patient, no matter how dangerous or strange it looked. His assistant, Hannah Park, rushed into the room. She was young, only 26 years old and still learning. Her face looked worried. "Doctor, we have a problem," Hannah said. "A ship just docked without permission. Security is calling. They want us to come to the airlock right now." Taeyang put down his coffee. Problems at the airlock usually meant trouble. He grabbed his medical bag and followed Hannah through the station's hallways. When they reached the airlock, Commander Kyung-Soo Choi was already there. He was the head of station security, a serious man who followed every rule. Behind him, 6 armed guards stood ready. "Stay back, Dr. Kyung-Soo said. We do not know what came out of that ship yet." But Taeyang could see past the guards. On the floor near the airlock entrance, something big was lying down. Something with black scales that reflected the station's lights. Something with wings folded against its back. A draconian. Hannah made a small sound of fear. Everyone in the galaxy knew about draconians. They were huge, powerful creatures that looked like the dragons from Earth's old stories. They had scales harder than steel, claws that could tear through ship hulls, and breath that burned hot enough to melt metal. They were warriors, raiders, and they never asked other species for help. Taeyang pushed past the guards. "Let me through." "Doctor, that thing is dangerous." Kyung-Soo grabbed his arm. "That thing is a patient," Taeyang said firmly. He pulled his arm free and walked toward the draconian. The creature was young, he could tell. Maybe 50 years old, which was like a teenager for their species. She was smaller than an adult draconian, only about 10 feet tall instead of 12. Her scales were dull, not shiny like they should be. And she was shaking. Taeyang knelt down slowly. He kept his hands where she could see them. "Hello," he said softly. "My name is Taeyang. I am a doctor. Are you hurt?" The young draconian opened one large eye. It was yellow, like a cat's eye, and filled with pain. She tried to speak but only managed a weak hiss. "Tooth," she finally whispered in broken universal standard. "Tooth is sick, hurts, cannot go home." "They will—" She did not finish. Her eye closed again. Taeyang turned to Hannah. "Get a medical bed ready. The big one from storage. And bring me the scanner." "But doctor," Hannah said, her voice shaking. "She is a draconian. They are dangerous. What if she attacks us?" "Look at her," Taeyang said. "She is scared and in pain. That is all I need to know. Now please help me." Hannah looked at the young draconian again. She saw the way the creature's claws were curled up tight against her chest, like a child holding their stomach. She saw the tears running down the scaled face. Slowly, Hannah nodded and ran to get the equipment. It took 30 minutes to move the draconian to the clinic. They had to use 3 medical beds connected together because she was so big. Kyung-Soo insisted on posting guards outside, but Taeyang made him keep them in the hallway. "She needs to feel safe," Taeyang explained. "If she wakes up surrounded by weapons, she will panic." Inside the clinic, Taeyang worked carefully. He used his scanner to look at the draconian's mouth. What he saw made him worried. One of her back teeth was infected. Badly infected. The infection had spread into the bone of her jaw. And worse, it was very close to something that Taeyang had only read about in books. The fire glands that let draconians breathe flame. "This is bad," he said quietly to Hannah. "If the infection reaches those glands, they could explode. It would kill her instantly. Can you fix it?" Hannah asked. Taeyang was quiet for a moment. He had never treated a draconian before. Nobody had. Draconians never asked for medical help. They handled their own problems, or they died with honor. This young one must have been desperate to come here. "I can try," he finally said. "But I need to learn more about her body first. And I need to know her name." The young draconian opened her eyes. She had been listening. "Ishara," she said, her voice rough with pain. My name is Ishara. Can you really help me? Can you make the pain stop? Taeyang looked into those yellow eyes. He saw fear there and hope and something else. Shame. This young creature was ashamed that she had to ask for help. He reached out slowly and put his hand on her scaled arm. Yes, Ishara, I can help you. But you need to trust me. Can you do that? Ishara stared at him for a long time. In her culture, asking for help was weakness. Trusting another species was unthinkable, but the pain in her jaw was so bad and she was so tired, and this small human looked at her with such kind eyes. I trust you, she whispered. Taeyang smiled. It was a gentle smile, the kind he used with all his patience, the kind that said everything would be okay. Good, he said. Now let me see that tooth. I promise I will be very careful. As Taeyang began his examination, news of the draconian patient spread through the station. People were scared. They were angry. Some wanted Ishara thrown out into space. Others just wanted her gone before she hurt someone. But in the small clinic, none of that mattered. There was only a doctor, his assistant, and a patient who needed help. It did not matter that the patient had scales and claws and could breathe fire. She was in pain. That was enough. Taeyang worked through the night studying everything he could find about draconian biology. It was not much. Most of the information came from soldiers who had fought them, or scientists who had studied their bodies after death. Nobody had ever tried to heal one before, but Taeyang was not worried. He had learned long ago that all creatures were the same in the important ways. They all felt pain. They all wanted to live. They all deserved kindness, even dragons. By morning, everyone on the station knew about Ishara. The news spread like fire. A draconian was here. A real dragon, sleeping in the human doctor's clinic. Commander Kyung-soo called an emergency meeting. The station's council gathered in the main hall. There were representatives from 12 different species all talking at once, all scared or angry. A blue-skinned Aquarian stood up first. That creature must leave. Draconians destroyed my home colony 20 years ago. They killed thousands. We cannot allow one here. A fuzzy Talon agreed, waving its small arms. What if it attacks? What if it calls more of them? We will all die. Kyung-soo raised his hand for quiet. He looked tired. He had not slept either. Dr. Kim claims the draconian is just a patient, he said. He says she is sick and needs medical care. Under station law, all patients are protected. Patients! The Aquarian shouted. That thing is a monster, not a patient. Make it leave or we will. The room erupted in angry voices again. Kyung-soo looked like he wanted to agree with them. He had seen what draconians could do. He had fought in the border wars. But he also believed in law and order. I will talk to Dr. Kim, he finally said. We will decide what to do by tonight. Until then, the draconian stays, but my guards stay too. In the clinic, Taeyang did not know about the meeting. He was too busy reading and planning. Hana brought him breakfast, but he barely touched it. Doctor, you need to eat, she said. I cannot, Taeyang said, staring at his computer screen. Look at this. The tooth is connected to her fire gland by very thin bones. If I remove it wrong, even a little bit wrong, the gland will break open. The heat will cook her brain from the inside. Hana looked at the scans. She was learning quickly, but even she could see how dangerous this was. Then maybe we should not try, she said quietly. Maybe we should just make her comfortable. Give her medicine for the pain until she did not finish, until Ishara died. That was what she meant. Taeyang shook his head. He remembered something his grandmother told him when he was young, back on the farm colony. She had been a veterinarian too. Every life matters, he said, repeating her words. Every creature deserves our best effort. We do not give up just because something is hard. In the medical room, Ishara lay very still. The medicine Taeyang gave her helped with the pain, but she still felt weak. She had been alone for so long, flying through space in her small ship, trying to find someone who could help her. She heard footsteps. The door opened. The small human female came in, the one called Hana. She carried a tray with water and something that smelled strange. Hana stopped when she saw Ishara watching her. Oh, you are awake. I brought you? Well, I did not know what you eat, so I brought different things. Ishara tried to sit up, but everything hurt too much. Hana quickly put down the tray and helped her. Even though her hands were shaking, Ishara could smell the fear on her. You are afraid of me, Ishara said. Her voice sounded rough, like rocks grinding together. Hana started to say no but then stopped. She looked into Ishara's eyes. Yes, Hana admitted. I am afraid. I have heard stories about your people. Bad stories. The stories are probably true, Ishara said sadly. My people are warriors. We take what we need. We do not ask nicely. We do not make friends. Then why did you come here? Hana asked.
Why ask us for help?
Ishara was quiet for a long time. When she spoke again, her voice was very soft. Because I did not want to die alone, she said. My tooth got sick 3 months ago. I went to our healers, but they said they could not fix it. They said the fire glands made it too dangerous. They told me to be brave, to accept my death with honor. Tears ran down her scaled face. But I am not brave, Ishara continued. I am only 50 years old. I am too young to die, so I ran away. I searched everywhere for someone who might help. Everyone said no, or they ran away when they saw me. Until I found this place. Until I found your doctor. Hana felt something change inside her. She looked at Ishara and saw not a monster, but a scared young girl. Someone not so different from herself. Slowly, Hana reached out and touched Ishara's scaled hand. Dr. Kim will help you, she said. He is the best doctor I know. If anyone can fix your tooth, he can. Ishara looked at the small hand on hers. It was so tiny compared to her own clawed hand. So soft, so fragile. She could crush it without trying, but she did not. Instead, she very gently closed her claws around Hana's hand, careful not to hurt her. Thank you, Ishara whispered. That afternoon, Commander Kyung-soo came to the clinic. He brought 2 council members with him. They wanted to talk to Taeyang about removing Ishara from the station. Taeyang met them in his office. His face was calm, but Hana could see the anger in his eyes. You want me to throw out my patient, Taeyang said. It was not a question. We want you to understand the danger, Kyung-soo said. That draconian could wake up and kill everyone here. Her people could come looking for her. We have families on this station, Doctor. Children. Ishara is barely more than a child herself, Taeyang said. She is sick and scared. She ran away from her own people because they refused to help her. Where would you have her go? That is not our problem, one of the council members said. Taeyang stood up. His voice was still quiet, but now it had an edge like steel. It is exactly our problem, he said. We claim to be civilized. We claim to be better than those who hurt others. But the moment helping someone becomes difficult or scary, we want to turn them away. What does that make us? The room was silent. I have contacted the Interspecies Medical Ethics Board, Taeyang continued. Under galactic law, you cannot force a patient to leave during treatment. If you try, the station loses its medical license. No doctors, no emergency care, nothing. Kyung-soo's face went pale. Without medical certification, the station would have to close. Thousands of beings would lose their homes and jobs. How long? He asked quietly. 48 hours, Taeyang said. I need 2 days to prepare. Then I will remove her tooth. After that, she will need a week to recover. Then she can leave if that is what she wants. Kyung-soo looked at his companions. They did not look happy, but they nodded. 48 hours, Kyung-soo agreed. But doctor, if anything goes wrong, if she hurts anyone, then you can blame me, Taeyang said. I take full responsibility. After they left, Hana found Taeyang sitting at his desk, his head in his hands. Are you okay? She asked. Taeyang looked up at her. He looked very tired. No, he said honestly. I am scared, Hana. I have never done surgery like this before. What if I fail? What if Ishara dies because I made a mistake? Hana put her hand on his shoulder. Then you will have tried, she said. You will have given her hope when no one else would. That matters, doctor. That always matters. Taeyang smiled a little. His young assistant was growing up fast. You are right, he said. Now let us get to work. We have a tooth to study and a dragon to save. The day of surgery arrived too quickly. Taeyang had barely slept during the 2 days of preparation. He spent every hour studying, planning, and making tools for the operation. His team was small. Dr. Minji Yoon would handle the anesthesia. She was an expert at putting different alien species to sleep safely. Engineer Boram Shin would monitor the fire suppression systems. If anything went wrong with Ishara's fire glands, Boram had to flood the room with special foam in less than 3 seconds. And Hana would be there too, monitoring Ishara's vital signs and helping Taeyang with the tools. The surgical room had been modified. The walls were reinforced. Extra medical equipment filled every corner. Outside in the hallway, Commander Kyung-soo waited with his security team, just in case. Before the surgery, Taeyang went to see Ishara one last time. She was awake, staring at the ceiling. When she heard him enter, she turned her large head to look at him. "Are you ready?" she asked. Taeyang sat down next to her bed. He was holding something in his hands. It was the infected tooth's X-ray image. "I want to show you what I am going to do," he said. "I want you to understand everything." For the next 20 minutes, Taeyang explained the surgery step by step. He showed her where he would cut. He told her about the risks. He was honest about the danger. Most doctors would not do this. Most would just put the patient to sleep and hope for the best. But Taeyang believed that all creatures deserved to know the truth, especially when their life was at risk. When he finished, Ishara was quiet. Then, she reached out with one massive clawed hand and placed it in his small human hands. "I trust you," she said simply. Those 3 words meant everything. In draconian culture, trust was rare. They did not even fully trust their own family members. But here was Ishara, placing her life in the hands of a human she had met only 2 days ago. Taeyang felt the weight of that trust. It was heavy and precious and terrifying all at once. "I will do my best," he promised. "Whatever happens, I will do everything I can." The surgery began at noon station time. Dr. Minji carefully injected the anesthesia. This was the first dangerous moment. Too much, and Ishara's body would shut down. Too little, and she would wake up during the operation. The medicine was a special mixture that Minji had created. It had compounds for reptilian species, mixed with cooling agents to keep Ishara's internal fire stable. Slowly, Ishara's eyes closed. Her breathing became slow and steady. The monitors showed her heart rate dropping to a safe level. "She is under," Minji said. "You can begin." Taeyang picked up his tools. They were specially made for this surgery. Some were adapted from equipment used on large earth animals like elephants and crocodiles. Others were tools he had designed himself in the past 2 days. He opened Ishara's mouth. Even unconscious, her jaws were impressive. Each tooth was as long as his hand. The fangs at the front could punch through steel plates. The infected tooth was in the back, just like the scans had shown. The gum around it was swollen and dark. Infection had spread deep into the bone. "Starting extraction," Taeyang said quietly. The first hour went well. Taeyang worked slowly and carefully. Every movement was precise. He could see the fire glands near the tooth, glowing faintly orange through the tissue. They looked like small balloons filled with liquid fire. Hana watched the monitors. "Temperature stable," she reported. "Heart rate good. Everything looks normal." Taeyang nodded but did not speak. He needed all his concentration. Then, halfway through the extraction, something went wrong. The tooth's root had fused with the surrounding bone. The infection had made it grow into the jaw itself. Taeyang tried to wiggle it loose, but it would not move. "Problem," he said. "The tooth is stuck. I need to cut some bone to free it." "How close to the fire glands?" Minji asked, worry in her voice. "Very close," Taeyang admitted. "Maybe 2 millimeters. 2 millimeters. Less than the width of a toothpick. One wrong move, one small slip, and the glands would rupture. The heat would kill Ishara instantly, and probably everyone in the room too." "Doctor, maybe we should stop," Hana said. "We could close her up. Try again another day when we have better tools." Taeyang shook his head. He knew that would not work. The infection was too advanced. If they stopped now, Ishara would die within days. "I need everyone to be very quiet," he said. "Borum, be ready on that foam system. Hana, watch for any temperature changes." Then he looked at the monitors showing Ishara's vital signs. Her stress hormones were rising, even though she was unconscious. Her body knew something was wrong. Taeyang remembered something he had read about draconian young. When baby dragons were scared, their mothers made a special sound, a deep rumbling purr that calmed them down. He turned to Hana. "Play that sound file I prepared. The one marked D maternal, low volume." Hana quickly found the file and played it. A deep rumbling sound filled the room. It was soothing, like distant thunder mixed with a cat's purr, but much deeper, Ishara's vital signs began to stabilize. The stress hormones dropped. Her body relaxed slightly. Taeyang also pressed his hand gently on a specific spot on her neck, where mother dragons held their young. The combination of sound and touch triggered an instinctive calming response. "Amazing," Minji whispered. "It is working." With Ishara calm, Taeyang went back to work. His hands were steady. His mind was clear. He had done difficult surgeries before, on creatures just as dangerous. He knew what to do. Slowly, carefully, he cut away the infected bone. Millimeter by millimeter. The fire glands glowed right next to his tools, so close he could feel their heat. Then, after what felt like hours, but was only 20 minutes, the tooth came free. Taeyang held it up. It was huge, black with infection, and attached to a chunk of diseased bone. But it was out. The fire glands were intact. "Got it," he said quietly. The room erupted in relieved sighs, but Taeyang did not celebrate yet. He still had to close the wound and make sure there was no bleeding near the fire glands. He worked for another hour, cleaning the infection, sealing blood vessels, and applying a special compound to protect the fire glands while they healed. Finally, it was done. "Surgery complete," Taeyang said. He put down his tools and stepped back. His hands were shaking now. All the fear and tension he had pushed down during the operation came flooding back. Hana hugged him. Minji smiled. Borum gave a thumbs up from his control panel, but they were not done yet. Now came the most dangerous part. Waking Ishara up. If her body rejected the anesthesia too quickly, if her fire glands activated before she was ready, if anything went wrong in these next few minutes, all their work would be for nothing. Minji carefully adjusted the medicine levels. Slowly, Ishara's breathing changed. Her eyes began to move under her closed eyelids. "Come on, Ishara," Taeyang whispered. "Come back to us." And then, slowly, those large yellow eyes opened. Ishara looked confused at first, then she saw Taeyang standing next to her. "Is it over?" she asked. Her voice was weak but clear. Taeyang smiled. It was the most genuine, happy smile Hana had ever seen on his face. "Yes," he said. "It is over. You are going to be fine." Ishara closed her eyes again, but this time it was different. This time she was just tired, not sick. This time she could rest without pain. "Thank you," she whispered before falling into a peaceful sleep. Word spread fast. Within hours, every ship in the sector knew what had happened. A human doctor had performed surgery on a draconian. A successful surgery, something no one thought was possible. The reaction was mixed. Some species celebrated. They saw it as proof that even the most fearsome creatures could be helped with kindness and skill. Other species were angry or scared. They worried that humans were making draconians stronger. But the biggest reaction came from the draconians themselves. 3 weeks after the surgery, a massive draconian warship appeared at the station. It was 10 times bigger than any other ship docked there. It carried weapons that could destroy the entire station with one shot. Commander Kyung-soo immediately called for an evacuation alert. But before he could give the order, a message came through. The draconians wanted to talk. They wanted to meet the human doctor who had saved one of their young. Taeyang agreed to the meeting. Hana thought he was crazy. "Doctor, they could kill you," she said. "This might be a trap." Taeyang shook his head. "If they wanted to kill me, they would just blow up the station. No, they want something else, and I need to know what it is." The draconian delegation came to the station in a smaller shuttle. There were 5 of them, all huge, all wearing armor that looked like it was made from black metal. The leader was the biggest. His name was High Commander Raish, and he was ancient by draconian standards. Over 300 years old, they met in the station's main conference room. Taeyang insisted on bringing Ishara. She was still recovering but strong enough to walk. When the delegation saw her healthy and alive, something changed in their eyes. Raish looked at Ishara for a long time. Then he looked at Taeyang. "You saved her life," Raish said. His voice sounded like grinding stones. "Why?" "Because she needed help," Taeyang said simply. "She is not your species, not your clan, not your concern. All patients are my concern, Taeyang said. It does not matter what they look like or where they come from. Raish was silent. He seemed to be thinking hard about something. Then he did something that shocked everyone in the room. He took off his helmet. Underneath, his face was scarred and weathered. But what caught Taeyang's attention was his jaw. It looked wrong. Swollen on one side. I am dying, Raish said quietly. My jaw is rotting from the inside. Our healers say there is nothing they can do. The bones are too close to my fire glands. Any surgery would kill me. He stepped closer to Taeyang. The human doctor had to tilt his head way back to look up at the massive dragon. Can you help me too? Raish asked. Or was Ishara just luck? Taeyang considered this. He could say yes immediately and try to look confident. Or he could be honest. He chose honesty. I do not know, Taeyang said. I would need to examine you first. And even if I can operate, there are no guarantees. Medicine is not magic. Sometimes we succeed. Sometimes we fail. The other Draconians in the room tensed. They expected their commander to be angry at this answer. But instead Raish laughed. It was a rough, rumbling sound. Honesty, Raish said. I have not heard honest words in many years. Everyone tells me what I want to hear. You tell me the truth. That is refreshing. He sat down in a chair that creaked under his weight. Very well, human doctor. Examine me. Tell me if you can help or not. I will accept your judgment. The examination took 2 hours. Taeyang used every scanner and tool he had. Hana assisted, though her hands shook whenever she got close to Raish. The old dragon stayed perfectly still, letting them work. When they finished, Taeyang studied the results. The news was not good. Your condition is serious, Taeyang said, but it is treatable. You have a bone disease, not just an infection. It will take multiple surgeries over several months, and you will need to change some of your habits. Can I change my habits? Raish asked. The disease is made worse by stress and certain foods. You will need to rest more. Eat differently. Take medicine every day. It will not be easy. Most doctors would promise a quick fix. They would make it sound easy. But Taeyang knew that real healing took time and effort. Raish stood up slowly. He looked at his fellow Draconians, then back at Taeyang. I accept your terms, he said. When can we begin? Over the next few months, something amazing happened. More Draconians came to the station, not to raid or threaten, but to seek medical help. They came quietly, almost shamefully at first, but as word spread that the human doctor treated them with respect and skill, more came openly. Taeyang's small clinic became famous across the galaxy. But fame brought problems too. The Crystalline Consortium, an alliance of species that had fought the Draconians for generations, sent an angry message. They accused humans of helping their enemies. They threatened to cut off trade with the station. The Galactic Council called Taeyang to explain his actions. They wanted to know why he was treating Draconians when they were considered dangerous raiders. Taeyang went before the council. It was held in a huge virtual chamber where representatives from hundreds of species could attend. He felt very small standing there, looking up at all those alien faces. Dr. Kim, the council speaker said, you are accused of strengthening a hostile species through medical aid. How do you answer this charge? Taeyang thought for a moment. Then he spoke clearly and calmly. I'm a doctor, he said. My job is to heal, not to judge. When a patient comes to me in pain, I do not ask about their politics or their history. I ask what hurts and how I can help. But these are Draconians, someone shouted from the crowd. They have killed millions. Yes, Taeyang agreed. And that is terrible. But the Draconians who come to my clinic are not coming to fight. They are coming to heal. If we refuse to help them, if we say their pain does not matter because of their species, then what are we? How are we better than them? The chamber was silent. Medicine should not be a weapon, Taeyang continued. It should not be something we use to control others or punish our enemies. Medicine should be for everyone because pain is universal, suffering is universal, and compassion should be universal too. Then Ishara stepped forward. She had come with Taeyang to the council. She stood next to him, huge and powerful, but her voice was gentle. My people have done terrible things, she said. I do not deny this. But we did those things because we were desperate. Our world died long ago. We had no home, no resources. We survived by taking from others. She looked around at all the species represented there. This human showed me something I never knew existed, Ishara continued. He showed me that strength is not just about being powerful. Real strength is helping those who are weak. Real courage is being kind when it is difficult. I am learning to be a healer now like Dr. Kim, and I am not alone. Many young Draconians are learning too. We want to change. We want to be better. But we cannot do it alone. We need help. We need teachers. We need examples of what civilization should be. An old Aquarian stood up. Taiyang recognized him as a representative whose colony had been destroyed by Draconians. My family died because of your people, the Aquarian said to Ishara. His voice was full of pain. Ishara bowed her head. She had no excuse, no defense. I am sorry, she said simply. I cannot bring them back. I cannot undo the past. But maybe, if we change, if we learn to heal instead of hurt, your family will not have died for nothing. Maybe their memory can be honored by creating a better future. The Aquarian was quiet for a long time. Then he nodded slowly. Perhaps, he said. Perhaps that is the only justice possible now. The council voted. By a narrow margin, they decided to support Taiyang's work. The Interspecies Veterinary Corps was officially recognized. Doctors from many species volunteered to help. Even some Draconians. But the real change was happening quietly, one patient at a time, as understanding replaced fear and cooperation replaced conflict. The small clinic aboard Mercy's Hand had grown into something much bigger. There were now 12 medical stations across the galaxy, all following the same principles that Taiyang had established. Every creature deserved care. Every patient deserved respect. Every life mattered. Taiyang himself was older now. His hair had more gray in it. His hands were not quite as steady as they used to be, but his eyes were still kind, and his dedication to his patients never wavered. Hana was no longer just an assistant. She ran her own clinic now, on a station near the Crystalline Consortium border. She treated everyone who came to her, just like Taiyang had taught her. Including Draconians, Ishara had become something remarkable. She was the first Draconian veterinary physician, trained in both human medicine and traditional Draconian healing. She traveled between Draconian colonies, teaching her people that accepting help was not weakness but wisdom. It was not easy. Many old Draconians still believed in the warrior way. They thought medicine and gentleness were for prey species, not hunters. But the young ones listened. They learned. They changed. The galaxy was changing too, slowly, carefully, like a patient recovering from a long illness. There were setbacks. 3 years after the council vote, a young Draconian patient, humiliated by needing help, attacked a human medic. The medic died before anyone could stop the patient. The incident almost destroyed everything. People across the galaxy demanded that humans stop helping Draconians. Some wanted war. Some wanted revenge. But the medic's family did something unexpected. Instead of calling for justice, they asked for understanding. They donated money to create educational programs for young Draconians, teaching them about emotional control and the importance of medical care. Taiyang attended the memorial service. He spoke about the medic whose name was Taehyun Park. He had been young, only 24 years old, full of hope and compassion. Taehyun believed that every creature could be helped, Taeyang said to the crowd. He believed that understanding was stronger than hate. His death is a tragedy. But if we respond with violence, if we abandon hope, then his beliefs die with him. If we continue his work, if we teach and help and care, then his spirit lives on. Ishara stood in that crowd, tears streaming down her scaled face. The Draconian who had killed Taehyun was from her own clan. She felt responsible. After the service, she came to Taeyang. I should stop, she said. Every time a Draconian hurts someone, it is my fault for encouraging them to seek help. Taeyang looked at her with those kind, tired eyes. That patient hurt someone because he was ashamed and scared, Taeyang said. If we had better education, better support, maybe it would not have happened. So we do not stop. We learn, we improve. We honor Taehyun by making sure his death leads to change, not to the end of hope. Ishara nodded slowly. She understood. The path forward was not to give up, but to work harder, teach better, and never stop believing that beings could change. Now, 5 years later, the changes were real and visible. Draconians still raided sometimes, but less often. When conflicts happened, there were negotiators on both sides who knew how to talk, how to find peaceful solutions. The Crystalline Consortium slowly began to accept that Draconians could be more than enemies. Trade agreements were signed. Cultural exchanges happened. It was not friendship, not yet, but it was not pure hatred either. One morning, Taeyang woke up in his small quarters aboard Mercy's Hand. The station was quiet. He made himself tea and sat by the window watching the stars. He thought about that day 5 years ago, when a scared young draconian had collapsed in his waiting room. He thought about how one act of kindness had rippled outward, changing lives, changing cultures, maybe even changing the future of the galaxy. There was a knock at his door. He opened it to find a small alien child, a Tellan, holding the hand of her guardian. The guardian was a young draconian, maybe 60 years old. "Dr. Kim?" the draconian said nervously. "My name is Kyra. This is Pip, my friend. She has a hurt wing. Can you help her?" Taeyang smiled. A draconian, bringing a small prey species to a doctor for help. 5 years ago, this would have been impossible. Now it was just another day. "Of course," Taeyang said. "Come in. Let me take a look at that wing." As he examined little Pip, being gentle and careful, he noticed Kyra watching him closely. The young draconian looked fascinated. "You are very good at this," Kyra said. "How did you learn to be so gentle?" Taeyang finished wrapping Pip's wing in a light bandage. The little Tellan chirped happily. "Practice," Taeyang said, "and remembering that every patient is scared. Even the big ones. Even the strong ones. Everyone needs kindness when they are hurt." Kyra was quiet for a moment. Then she asked, "Could you teach me? I want to learn to heal like you do. Like Ishara does." Taeyang looked at this young draconian, so different from the warriors of old. She wanted to heal, not hurt. She wanted to protect, not destroy. "Yes," he said, "I can teach you. But it takes time and patience. Are you ready for that?" Kyra nodded eagerly, her scales shining with excitement. Later that day, the Galactic Council held a special ceremony. They were creating a new law. All medical facilities across the galaxy would be declared neutral ground. During conflicts, no one could attack hospitals or clinics. Medical personnel would be protected under galactic law. Hundreds of species attended the ceremony, either in person or through hologram. Taeyang was invited to speak, representing the Interspecies Veterinary Corps. He stood before the council again, but this time he did not feel small. He felt proud of what they had all accomplished together. 5 years ago, Taeyang began, a young draconian came to my clinic. She was scared and in pain. I helped her because that is what doctors do. We help. He looked around at all the different species listening to him. Today we are making a promise to the galaxy. We promise that medicine will always be about healing, never about power. We promise that sick and injured beings will always find care no matter who they are or where they come from. This is what civilization means. Not weapons or technology or territory. Civilization is how we treat the most vulnerable among us. It is the kindness we show when it would be easier to turn away. Ishara stood up from her seat. Then Hana. Then Dr. Minji Yoon and Engineer Boram Shin. Then hundreds of others from dozens of species. All the doctors, nurses, and healers who had learned that compassion was not weakness but strength. The council speaker, an ancient being from a species that had seen wars for thousands of years, spoke with emotion in their voice. "The humans have taught us something we had forgotten," the speaker said. "They have shown us that the strongest civilizations are not the ones with the biggest weapons, but the ones with the biggest hearts." That evening, Taeyang sat in his clinic once more. He was updating patient files when someone entered quietly. It was Ishara. She looked different now, more confident, more peaceful. The scared young dragon who had arrived 5 years ago was gone. In her place was a healer, a teacher, a bridge between worlds. "Thank you," she said simply, "for everything. For saving my life. For teaching me. For never giving up on my people." Taeyang smiled his gentle smile. "You did the hard work," he said. "You changed. You learned. You taught others. I just pulled out a tooth." Ishara laughed, a warm, rumbling sound that no longer frightened anyone. "You pulled out more than a tooth," she said. "You pulled out fear and hate and replaced them with hope. That is a much more difficult surgery." She turned to leave, then paused at the door. "By the way," she said, "I have 17 students now, all young draconians who want to learn medicine, and 3 of them are already better at surgery than I am." Taeyang felt tears in his eyes. 17 young dragons learning to heal instead of hurt. That was more than he had ever hoped for. "That is wonderful," he said softly. After Ishara left, Taeyang sat alone in the quiet clinic. He looked at the chair where it had all started, where a scared young dragon had asked for help. He remembered his grandmother's words from so long ago. Every life matters. Every creature deserves our best effort. She had been right. One patient, one act of kindness, one moment of choosing compassion over fear. That was all it took to change the galaxy. Outside his window, ships came and went. Some carried draconians. Some carried their former enemies. Some carried beings from species that had never met before, all of them moving through space together, sharing the stars, learning slowly to share peace. Tomorrow there would be more patients. More surgeries. More challenges. But tonight Taeyang allowed himself to feel satisfied. The work was not finished. It would never be finished. But it was good work. Important work, the work of healing. The work of hope. The work of proving that even the smallest act of kindness could ripple across the stars and change everything. And it had all started with a simple question. Come here, little creature. Your tooth is sick. I'm going to pull it out for you, little dragon, the end.